Am I live? Am I live? Am I on the air? Am I on the air? Am I live streaming to you right now? I wanted to go live with this right away because this news just came down within the last few minutes. It appears that the New York Giants have pulled the trigger on a coaching change. It came down within the last hour. The New York Football Giants have parted ways with head coach Brian Daboll. This was not to be completely unexpected. And it really is a shock to no one. He was almost fired against the game against Denver. But unfortunately for him and unfortunately for the rest of us, it was... that's not what I wanted. Cooler heads did prevail. And he was spared from being fired on the plane ride home. However, the axe has now apparently fallen. The Giants have made a coaching change they had to make. Listen, I like Brian Daboll. Okay, I did think he was a good coach initially. That one season he had with Daniel Jones was I was sold on him. Okay. But unfortunately, he was not the right guy, and I don't think he is. The record bears out that I don't think he's as good a coach as we all believed he is, or we thought he was to be. And this is from CBS Sports. New York Giants fired Brian Daboll, ending a turbulent 4-year run that began with early promise. Brian Daboll went just 20, 40, and 1 over 3.5 seasons on the job. Mike Kafka will take over as interim coach. Days after acknowledging rumors about the New York Giants ownership weighing in on the future, Brian Daboll is officially out as the team's head coach after overseeing a fourth straight loss in which his Giants squandered a 10-point lead. And I'll talk about that, because I watched every excruciating down of that game, and oh my God, was it? Oh God, I'll get to that. Daboll was dismissed on Monday. Assistant head coach coordinator Mike Kafka will take over as interim coach. Local media outlets recently circulated rumors that Daboll's standing suggesting owner John Mara intended to fire the coach immediately following Giants' Week 7 loss to the Denver Broncos, in which New York lost an 18-point fourth quarter lead to fall 33-32 on a walk-off field goal. Instead, Mara waited until just over halfway through Daboll's fourth season at the helm of the organization to end the marriage. Daboll, 50, went just 2-8 this season, dropping his career record as the Giants coach to 20, 40, and 1. Previously, the Buffalo Bills offensive coordinator Daboll initially energized New York upon his hire in 2022 when he was fresh off a promising run alongside then MVP candidate Josh Allen. His debut, the Giants campaign, featured a rejuvenation of both quarterback Daniel Jones and running back Saquon Barkley, who helped lead a surprise playoff appearance as well as a wild card upset of the Minnesota Vikings. Things went downhill from there. Jones regressed as a part of injury-ravaged offense during Daboll's second season, which was also plagued by maligned play calling. Then the bottom fell out in 2024 when the Giants managed just a 3-14 record, even releasing Jones late in the year at the quarterback's request. Despite the decline, both Daboll and general manager Joe Schoen. Joe Schoen's another one who's got to go. He's got to go. Received a surprise endorsement from Mara going into the 2025 season, totally overhauling the quarterback position this offseason. Daboll was reportedly instrumental in the Giants' first-round selection of Jackson Dart this April, ushering the rookie signal caller onto the field in September in place of veteran placeholder Russell Wilson. While they made some magic together, with Dart notably leading a primetime upset of the rival Philadelphia Eagles in Week 6, the Ole Miss product also suffered multiple injuries while trying to elevate his coach's attack. Daboll is the fourth coach to be dismissed by the Giants in the last 8 years, after longtime coach Tom Coughlin exited following 2015 season. New York employed Ben McAdoo, Pat Shurmur, and Joe Judge, none of whom lasted more than 2 seasons. Before turning to Daboll, the entire quartet, including Daboll, combined with just 2 winning seasons. And therein is why Brian Daboll has been shown the door. Daboll's failure to stop Dart from being reckless may have cost him. Dart flashing the promise that the first-round pick is the clear centerpiece for the organization for the foreseeable future. That is, when he's actually on the field. For all his brilliance as a runner, Dart has been put in harm's way far too many times. Well, I chalk that up to youthful enthusiasm. I think it is part of the problem that no one has said to Dart, listen, you're a quarterback, not a running back, okay? You need to stay in the pocket. You need to protect yourself because running backs don't have a very long shelf life in the NFL. So on Sunday, the Ole Miss exited the game after suffering a concussion, seemingly in the third quarter. During a specific rush, Dart fumbled and appeared that his head appeared to hit his head hard on the turf, carrying the ball up the left sideline. He was slow to get up, but returned to the game. He was later checked out by medical staff in between quarters, taken to the locker room, and ruled out in the fourth quarter. And here you have the specific play. So there's Dart breaking around the left side, and there he goes. Not for nothing. I thought that wasn't a fumble. I thought he was down, but anyway, that's beside the point. Yeah, it's just unfortunate he got hurt, Coach Daboll told reporters post-game Sunday. This was the 4th season, including that Dart has been evaluated for concussion, per ESPN's Jordan Renan. Renan also notes that Dart has been contacted, but the second most of any quarterback since he was named the starter in Week 4, roughly 13 hits per game. That's not sustainable. And the Giants are running the risk of breaking their young quarterback before he even gets off the ground. Look, I'm not exactly sure the play that happened, Daboll said when asked if his play style is sustainable. I'm just concerned for the kid while taking into account. Okay, yeah. So anyway. But what this begs the question is, what's next? I mean, Kafka is going to be the interim head coach. Interim head coaches are a mixed bag. So why did that not? So okay, but anyway. So anyway, the New York Giants are without head coach. Now, you got to also think about this. First of all, Cam Skattebo is out with a dislocated ankle. He is going to be out for the rest of the season. I don't know what his long-term prospects are. He says he's going to come back stronger, even better next year. We'll have to wait and see. Usually dislocated ankle and surgery are not a good thing. But the other part about this is that we have to take into consideration. I got to pop out the chat, and when I go away from the article, it does that to me. So, but the biggest problem with this is now hey, Mr. MH, how you doing? Listen, you got to fire Joe Shane too. A lot of people are going to like, oh, no, well, maybe he drafted Jackson Dart. Okay, fine. But you know what? You got to fire Joe Shane too. Yes, I know He selected Abdul Carter. I know he selected Jackson Dart. And I know he selected Cam Scadaboo. But you got to fire him too. Because the whole organization the whole front office is just rotten from stem to stern. It really is. Everybody has to go. That's right, Anthony Way. You have to clean house. John Mara, the owner, to his credit, he's not a big fan of instability. He just doesn't fire people at the drop of a hat. But at the same time, listen, Daniel Jones, look what he's doing in Indianapolis. And he's got the nickname Indiana Jones, for God's sake. I mean, jeez. That game yesterday was winnable. It was winnable. That defense just was picked apart in the fourth quarter. The game against Denver was winnable. The Giants are losing winnable games. That's the biggest problem here. At some point, you got to say enough's enough. And the fact that they're 2-8 again. This is the second year in a row. They were supposed to turn a quarter this year. And they're 2-8. How does this happen? You're not the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You're the New York Football Giants. Yeah, now you do have a young core of players. You have Abdul Carter, edge rusher. And listen, Sexy Dexy, he's got to go. I'm sorry. Cut him in the offseason. He hasn't done jack shit lately. Get rid of Dexter Lawrence. Maybe try to boost the offensive line in the offseason. But we got to get rid of Joe Shane. And we got to get rid of the entire coaching staff. Mike Kafka he's gonna go too, probably most likely. And it was a bad sign that they were gonna let Saquon Barkley go. It hurts more that he goes to the Eagles, but at the same time, Saquon Barkley, you have a guy Cam Scadaboo, who it looks like he's going to be a big stud in the backfield. Now he's hurt. Tyrone Tracy, he had some quality yards yesterday, but it was in a loss. Singletary had some good moments. Who's going to be the next coach? I don't know who they're looking at. Now, there's rumors that Bill Belichick wants to take the Giants' job. And there's a couple problems with that. First of all is his age. He's 73. Now, granted, 73 is not what it used to be. I remember when I was a kid, 73, you were an old man. 73 is old, but it's not as old as it used to be. But at the same time, I would have to think that they're not going to give the job to Bill Belichick. There's rumors that he wants the job, but I don't think he's the guy. I have no idea who. I honestly, looking at the coaching landscape, I have no idea. Like I said, Mike Kafka is gonna take up as interim head coach against the Packers from here on out. I have no idea. It's a good question. I see rumors that it might be John Gruden. I mean, really? John Gruden? He's gonna come back? I doubt it's gonna be a big name. The Giants tend to promote people within the organization, or at least they did back in Wellington Mara's days. But again, you're gonna have to fire Mike Kafka too at the end of the season. I want nobody left over from this regime. I really don't. I want no bets. Let's see, Bet 365. Who are they looking at? Who are the odds? Cliff Kingsbury, Clint Kubiak, Jesse Minter. Jesse Minter, well, listen, he's a defensive-minded coach. Rob with the reboot. I am not qualified to be a coach in the NFL. Oh God, that would be. Do you know how bad a coach I would be? I mean, it would be like Granted, it would be hysterical. Press conferences would be a blast. But Mike McCarthy, long shot. But oh God, that is a good question. Who is going to replace Brian Daboll? I have no freaking clue. Mercifully, I just want this season to end. I mean, now is it? Are we gonna try to save a little face here? Is Mike Kafka gonna? Is he really auditioning for the job, or are we playing for draft picks now? That's really the big question. Is this season so far gone that we're gonna have to try to jockey for another draft pick? It's going to be a college head coach. The Giants don't tend to hire people from the college ranks. They always tend to look for assistants or coordinators. The last was it Ray Perkins. I don't think he was a college coach back in the day. I mean, Bill Parcells was defensive coordinator when they promoted him to head coach. And that was after Ray Perkins left. That's going way back. So yeah, Ray Perkins. Let's see, where did he come from? I remember, yeah, he coached the Giants and then he coached Alabama. He was an offensive coordinator for a while. Ray Perkins came from he was offensive coordinator with San Diego. Pardon me. He was head coach of the Buccaneers. He was head coach of Alabama. Head coach of he was an offensive coordinator with the Patriots. Offensive coordinator with the Raiders. Spent a long time as a tight ends coach with the Cleveland Browns. In 2000, Jones County head coach, Oak Grove High. Then he finished out his career as a high school coach at Oak Grove in Missouri, in Mississippi rather. He was a better coach than I thought. He never had a lot of talent around him though. That was part of the problem. But this is listen. I can't say that I'm surprised because again, that game was winnable. That game was winnable. And the part about Jackson Dart is, yeah, he's a more mobile quarterback, but you don't want him. You don't want him getting injured. I chalked it up to youthful enthusiasm. But at the same time, I'm like, yeah, you have a more mobile quarterback. You can do more with him. But he's just downright reckless out there. But you can't fire Daboll without firing Joe Schoen. And Joe Schoen's probably going to go at the end of the season. Because what they'll typically do is they bring in a new GM, and then then the GM brings in so who would you like as head coach? Okay. And then we'll have to wait and see what the status of Cam Scattaboo is. Like I said, it's just this is. I remember worse Giants seasons, but this is pretty bad. This is bad because again, when they were bad, I remember the 4-12 seasons, the 5-10 seasons, the 5-10, 5-11 seasons, 6-10. Then they would eke out a 7-9. 3-12-1. I mean, but this is bad. I think worse because those teams were just bad. But this is worse because again, some of these games were winnable. Some were winnable. It's going to be different this time. It's going to be different. And it's just same old story. Same old story. Same old story. And again, Saquon, you beat the Eagles. You beat Saquon and the Eagles. That was a good win. And you beat the Chargers. And that's where the wins stop. It's just been, I don't mind getting blown out in a loss rather. I don't mind getting blown out because you were never in the game, but to have these games slip away so late in the fourth quarter, it's just a collapse on all fronts here, on both the offensive and the defensive side of the ball. And again, we were told it's going to be different this time. It's going to be different. It's going to be different. And it's the same old story. I think one thing that this does is it vindicates Daniel Jones. I think this. Listen, I was not a big believer in Daniel Jones, okay? I was one of the people that was saying, you know what? Yeah, you overpaid for him. I kind of understood why they overpaid for him because there weren't a lot of quarterbacks out there, so you had to cling on to him like grim death. But at the same time, they overpaid for him, and they were going to take a huge cap hit if they hung on to him. So they had to let him go, and they freed up all that cap space. He was going to get, I think, a $23 million payment. So you had to let him go. You had to let him to free up that cap room. It was a terrible situation. What they did to Daniel Jones, but again, everybody just parted ways. And Daniel Jones has proven himself to be not a big time quarterback, a serviceable quarterback. I mean, he's doing well with Indiana, but the Giants are left with the egg on their face. And I remember, the story goes that after the Herm Edwards recovered fumble, the Miracle of the Meadowlands in 1979, that the local TV stations just kept playing over and over and over, and they fired the entire coaching staff. I think Bob McVay was. And there was a meeting called in Commissioner Pete Rozell's office in New York. He called Wellington Mara and his nephew Tim Mara into his office. And he said to both of them, listen, I know you have your differences, but if this league is going to grow, we need a strong team in New York. So here's what I'm suggesting. There's a guy by the name of George Young. He's won in Baltimore. He's won pretty much. He's a great football mind, and he's put a lot of good teams together. I'm not going to make you hire him. Roselle told the Maras, I'm not going to force you to hire him, but I highly recommend you do. And the rest is history. George Young had those great years in the 80s with the New York Giants, the 80s and the early 90s. The Great Pumpkin, portly fellow with glasses and no hair. And dear God, I miss those days. But you do need a George Young football mind for this team. You need a guy who's gonna be a keen evaluator of talent. And Joe Schoen is not that guy. Joe Schoen, listen, I don't know. I don't know the man personally, but I call into question his talents, and as far as evaluating football players. Joe Schoen has got to go as well, because again, if you're going to bring in a new coach, you're going to have a head coach and a GM both adopting the same philosophy. They're both going to be on the same page, and to have a guy like Joe Schoen and Brian Daboll, one existing without the other. I mean, I don't think that can. I don't think that happens a lot. One thing though that they did get wrong with the New York Giants era under George Young was they instead of Bill Belichick, they hired Ray Hanley as head coach. The Ray Hanley years. Ooh, oh boy. That was a disaster. Yet the Ray Hanley years gave way to Dan Reeves. And they didn't win a Super Bowl under Dan Reeves, but they did well. They did well enough. Yeah, at least there's a guy who was competent. You had Jim Fossil. Good coach. Had a sordid personal life, but then you had Tom Coughlin. And there was a guy in between. I can't remember off the top of my head, but yeah, I mean, well, one of the few Giant games I went to was way, way back. I mean, this is the season before they hired Tom Coughlin. I saw the Giants and the Redskins. Now it had just snowed, and they hired a bunch of people to shovel out the stadium, and they did an okay job. But I had never been as cold in my life as I was sitting in that stadium. And this is like I said, going back to when did they hire Tom Coughlin? But like I said, I'm sitting there in the stadium. And I remember it was the Giants were playing it had to be 1990, had to be like 1998, 99. I know it was before the Giants went back to the classic NY logo. And yeah, wide receivers coach, head coach, 2004. Okay, so it was 2003. So we're sitting there in the stadium, and they're playing the Redskins. And it was the third quarter. I remember as soon as they came out, the Giants had gotten the ball on the kickoff, and they fumbled deep in their own territory, and the Redskins recovered and scored a touchdown. We said, that's it. That's it. Guy turns to us and says, who do you think they're hiring next season for a coach? And I said, yeah, I've been hearing Tom Coughlin. Then they hired Tom Coughlin, and the rest is history. It was bad. It was bad. 2 Super Bowls. Eli Manning, Hall of Fame quarterback. Michael Strahan, great defensive players. Giants have always been kind of cursed with guys who are great players, but they suffer an injury, like Jason Sehorn. Great defensive, great cornerback, great corner. Blows out his knee on a punt return, which he had no business doing. Yeah, married to the lovely Angie Harmon. And so anyway, so we have to wonder what's going on from here. But busy day in New York sports. Brian Daboll, no longer head coach of the New York Football Giants. Just want to do this quick stream to get my thoughts on it. And like I said, I fully expect Joe Shane to go by the end of the season. Jackson Dart is going to be out for next week because of concussion protocol. So, that's it. There you have it. All right, everyone. I'll catch you all next time. Thank you for everyone who showed up to hear me complain about this. We'll catch you next time.